Morning, everyone. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful space. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We're just so glad to see you here this morning. We have a lot of music. We're still talking about it. Because we got a lot to offer this morning. We have a guest speaker this morning. So much going on. We're so glad that you're here. Hope that you plan to stay for the potluck, too. We're going to have a conversation after the service about our wisdom series and where we hope to take things from here. So if you would like to join us down the hall, we'd love to have that conversation with you. And in the meantime, I'd like to invite you to get grounded. Take a few deep breaths. Feel your feet on the floor. And respond to the words I'm about to say. Come as you are, aching, tired, joyful, or seeking.
Here we are woven together in love.
Set down what you carry and let this be a place of rest.
Here we are held in hope and mercy.
Be present to yourself, to each other, and to the divine life that flows through all things.
Here, together, we find the common thread of divine life that connects us all.
This common thread of divine life in which we all live and move and have our being, our God, who is lover, beloved, and love overflowing. Amen.
Good morning. We got it. Yay. I'm Rhonda Ransfer, and I'm your liturgist for today. I'd like to welcome you to Common Thread. If you are a newcomer, an old-timer, or somewhere in between, if you found us on the internet or stumbled in off the street, no matter how you came here, we're so glad that you're here with us today. If you want to know more about us, click on the QR code, and we'll send you a zero-pressure email with more information, with an option to connect with a real human being, which is really the best way to go if you want to know what we are about here. You'll get a first-hand account of where we shine, where we stumble, where we fall short, but mostly how transformation is the aim here. We know that wherever we are on our spiritual journey, making that journey together will take us further than we can go on our own. And an even more heartfelt welcome if you're here having a rough day. In our culture, it's our inclination to isolate when things get tough. But here, we know that standing with each other on rough days is an act of solidarity. It's an act of love, and part of what makes our personal and collective transformation possible. So each Sunday down the hall, we have someone who is a trained listener who will hold space for you while you're struggling. And Cherie is our listener today. I don't see her at the moment, but she will be in the library for a few minutes to see if anybody needs that kind of support this morning. And at any time, you can use the QR here and connect with our community care team. Morgan heads up that effort, and if you'll let her know what's going on, she'll get you connected in the right direction. And now let's say together what we do each week. If you are here, you belong.
If you are here, you belong.
We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light.
We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light.
We are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath.
We are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath.
And as fellow carriers of divine breath and divine light, I invite you to stand up and greet each other.
Shh. Shh.
Go ahead and take your seat.
dark abyss of an emptiness, standing on the edge of a drowning blue. I look behind my ears for the green, and even my sweat smells clean. Clear off the white hurts my eyes. I gotta get out of bed and get a hammer and a nail. Learn how to use my hands, not just my head. I'll think myself into jail. Now I know a refuge never grows from a chin in a hand in a thoughtful pose. Gotta tend the earth if you wanna rise. I had a lot of good intentions, sit around for 50 years and then collect a pension. Started seeing the road to hell and just where it starts. But my life is more than a vision. The sweetest part is acting after making a decision. Started seeing the whole as the sum of its parts. And I look behind my ears for the green, and even my sweat smells clean. Clear off the white hurts my eyes. I gotta get out of bed and get a hammer and a nail. Learn how to use my hands, not just my head. I'll think myself into jail. Now I know a refuge never grows from a chin in a hand in a thoughtful pose. Gotta tend the earth if you wanna rise. My life is part of a global life. I find myself becoming more immobile when I think a little girl in the world can't do anything. But a destination, my community, and a street person, my responsibility. If I have a care in the world, I have a gift to bring. And I look behind my ears for the green. Even my sweat smells clean. Clear off the white hurts my eyes. I gotta get out of bed and get a hammer and a nail. Learn how to use my hands, not just my head. I'll think myself into jail. Now I know a refuge never grows from a chin in a hand in a thoughtful pose. Gotta tend the earth if you wanna rise.
There are many ways to connect in our community, and here are a list of a few that are just coming up. We have a potluck this afternoon. If you didn't bring something, go ahead and come because we lean into loaves and fishes here. So we'd love to have you down with us to connect and get to know each other. And don't forget to continue to bring your food donations for the next couple of weeks. The box is out in the foyer as you come in. There will be a newcomers meet and greet September 21st after What Are You Thinking? Sue would love the opportunity to meet with you and share more about Community Common Thread, and you'll get the chance to make some connections with newcomers as well during that time. And this is an upcoming event, but if you can cook or serve food or clean, mark your calendar for a great opportunity on October 4th to serve our unhoused neighbors. If you can't serve on this day, there are going to be some other opportunities for donations, so watch for upcoming information about that. And if you missed anything, there are 3 ways to get more information. You can do it on our app, at the website, or we do have a weekly email if you are registered for that. And now I'd like to invite Lamar Walker up to speak to us about urban ministries.
have to start my timer on my phone to make sure that I don't go over 5 minutes. Thank y'all for the time today. My name is Lamar Walker, and I'm the Director of Development for Urban Ministries of Wake County. I'm relatively new to the Raleigh area. I came in January of this past year as their development director. I followed a very good friend of mine who was their newer executive director. He has since left for another calling, but so we have an interim ED right now, so you get me today, so thank you for the opportunity. A little bit about Urban Ministries. If you don't know, we are a nonprofit organization that has been in business for about 45 years. We were started by 12 local churches in downtown Raleigh, and they started out as a homeless shelter on Cabarrus Street, I do believe. And then 40 years ago, they opened the Open Door Clinic. So we are now a three-program nonprofit that fights the battles of poverty in our community for our neighbors in need. We have a food pantry, just in general, for food pantry. Last year we served 53,000 individuals, 16,000 families, and over 500,000 pounds of food to those in need. We serve in a drive-through process. So as people drive through, we give them about 32 pounds of food every week. We serve 80-plus cars per day and could serve more. We turn people away daily, especially with a lot of the cuts that have happened with the food bank and with TFAP and with the changes in SNAP. We find more hunger all the time coming through our doors. Our Open Door Clinic serves about 1,400 patients a year. We serve nothing but the uninsured. If you qualify for Medicaid or Medicare, we have a care team that allows you for access to care in other areas, but we only serve those uninsured. Most of our constituents, our patients that we serve, English is their second language. We are the only one of the 20 free and charitable clinics in the state, only one in Wake County that has an on-site pharmacy, which means we treat chronic illnesses, a lot of diabetes, a lot of underlying causes with high blood pressure. They get their medications for free, approximately 30,000 prescriptions monthly. And we serviced about 8,000 appointments last year. What does that mean to you as a community? Well, not only does that keep those people that are uninsured healthy, it keeps them out of our emergency rooms. So we estimate our cost of emergency room diversion of benefit to our community is $7.7 million in the 3 hospitals that serve Wake County. They are all partners with us. They take care of our diagnostic services, mammograms, and testing for our patients. The Helen Wright Center for Women is our 3rd program, which we have 73 beds for unhoused women without children in their care, and they can stay for about 90 days. Last year, we served over 350 women, and we actually were able to secure about 90 women into permanent housing and a lease of their own. That's our goal. They can stay with us about 3 months. And if they choose to go through our housing program, we're not just an emergency shelter. We provide them access to things they need, like documentation or legal services if that's what they need, job training so that they can get a job, so they can get back on their feet. We take someone in crisis and we put them onto a path to stability. And how do we do this, you might say? We do it through the generosity of others. We do it through our enormous volunteer corps, which I'm very excited to tell you a little bit about. Outside, there's the biggest place we have that's an opportunity is our forward-facing food pantry. From 8 till about 10:30, our food pantry line's going. So people come in, and we need volunteers to stuff bags and provide food to our neighbors in need as they come through. If you're a provider, a nurse practitioner, a licensed nurse, and you would like to volunteer at the clinic, of course that's a specialty. We also have volunteer spots for that as well. The other thing is our meal train for our Helen Wright Center. Every day, 365 days, we serve between 60 and 75 women a day dinner. So we actually have a meal train where you can sign up as an organization to do that. I'm going to leave you with one little story. going to take me over for just a few seconds. A community has a village. They're at the top of a mountain. They have a wonderful view of the valley. As people come from all around the world to see this wonderful view of this valley, as they come up, they're greeted and they're mesmerized. And what happens is 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, people miss the turn and they crash their car over the mountain. So the community says, what do we do? So the community, they build a hospital at the bottom of the mountain. Then several years later, the hospital was booming. The business was great. They said, well, why don't we try to do something to increase the population and to help the people in our community? So they went to the top of the mountain and they put a danger sign that said, danger, turn around, stop. Urban Ministries wants to be that sign at the top of the mountain so that we can support our neighbors in need before they need the hospital. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Lamar, for coming and spending some time with us today to help us better understand Urban Ministries. What a great organization. And as a community, we have opportunity to support Urban Ministries this month. Some of the opportunities, we have several for you to be able to participate in. And really, it's the design for you. And so what I mean by that is there's a box outside of the lobby here that you can actually bring food to actually just drop off for Urban Ministries for their pantry. I think one of the things I would encourage is next weekend and the weekend after that is where your efforts can have a tremendous effect. So investing an hour on Saturday can return lots. So next Saturday we'll be working at Renaissance Park neighborhood in Garner, and we'll be meeting there at 9:30 and working for about an hour. So working would be including just walking with these bags in hand and just leaving them at people's doors. We're not going to be talking to people necessarily. We're just going to be leaving these at people's doors. So we chose Renaissance Park because a decent amount of folks live down towards Garner, but also it's not far from downtown. So if you live there as well, and it's not far off the Beltline. In addition, you can provide funding. So on our website, we're going to actually have a link where you can actually just provide financial funding to support Urban Ministries. Obviously, they can buy a can of peanut butter a lot cheaper than we can. And so that's another way to actually participate as well. So there's several different ways. The kids are downstairs today stapling bags. Additionally, there's some bags out in the lobby that are just blank bags with separate flyers in a pile. And so if you want to do your own food drive in your neighborhood, 3, 4, 5 homes, take 3 or 4 or 5 bags, staple them, and just leave them at your neighbor's house. Maybe put a note on there. And let them know you'll be coming by the following weekend to pick them up. So there's several different ways you can participate. But as you heard, this is a great organization to support not only from a food pantry standpoint, but from a health standpoint for our people in need here in the community, and also a women's shelter. So I encourage you to support them in other ways, and look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday morning. Hopefully see you out there then. Thank you.
Thank you both for sharing that information. You may have remembered, if you were here last week, that Doug got up to speak about One Wake, and this week we're talking about Urban Ministries, and they're both part of our service quadrant. One of the Urban Ministries is how we help the people who are in need. One Wake is what we can do here on the ground to address the systemic issues that cause people to be in need in the first place. So we'll be talking more about this later. Thank you. I hope to see lots of you participating next week and participating throughout the week. Real quick, we have a standing desk downstairs that the church owns and the church no longer wants. If anybody wants this, please come see me after the service, and if we get no takers, we will have it disassembled and get it out of here this week. But if you want it, we wanted to give you the chance to snag it. And I also wanted to say, it didn't seem to show up on our Connect in the Community today. We do have Brew Crew is next Sunday at Heyday Brewing, but also next Sunday, Ray and Diane, if you are unaware, are in a band called Swag. And I've had the opportunity to go to see them. They're a lot of fun. They're playing at Fletcher Park next week at 5 p.m. next Sunday. So you could go to Brew Crew and get you a beer at 4 and then head on over to Fletcher Park, or maybe the brewery isn't your jam. Anyhow, check in with Ray and Diane next week if that is a thing that you want to attend. It is a lot of fun. And if you want to go enjoy some live music at a lovely park, I commend it to you. And the third thing I want to say is, have you noticed how clean this room is? Did you notice how clean the lobby is? You don't see the sound booth, but it's clean. And if you need to go to the bathroom, go check out the bathrooms. Kate Kate, Jen, and I spent the morning here. Morgan got here a little bit later, but she's also contributed to the effort to clean up around here. We had as you know, a very long season of some theater folks, and sometimes you don't really see the dirt till you get down close. And so we were here for a good long morning, but it feels really good to be in here, and I'm just so grateful to Kate, to Jen, and to Morgan for their labors of love on Friday to make this space feel warm and welcoming for us today. So thank you, guys. Give them a hand, please. Thank you. And with that, I invite you to get grounded again. Let's take a moment to come home to ourselves, to our breath, to our bodies. Take some deep breaths. See if you can soften your jaw. Just bring some attention to your jaw. See if you can let it soften. Unclench your hands. Let your shoulders drop. Let your belly rise and fall. Let your whole body just feel soft. Just arrive, just breathe, just be. Let's think back on our week. Let's see if we can notice. Just notice, not judge, not correct, but just notice. Are there any voices that are clinging to you from this past week? Any anxious thoughts? Any pressure to perform? Old stories about who you are supposed to be and where you are supposed to be? We all carry them, but we don't have to become them. Maurice Nichol, who some of us have been reading on Substack the past few weeks, called this identification. When we forget who we really are by getting pulled into the swirl. But beneath all that, there is a deeper self. Not the self that grasps or performs, but the self that simply is. That waits patiently, that listens gently, that already belongs. This deeper self is what some traditions call essence. It is light. It is love. It is the divine already moving in us, already dreaming through us, already becoming. So just rest there. Let your breath move gently and let yourself be held in that space. Now we'll begin to hum. Just a soft tone felt more than heard. Let it rise from your belly and vibrate in your throat as you join Melissa and me. the sound settles your body, regulates your nervous system, and connects you with one another. And now we'll add the words to this chant. You may know it. Let it come gently. You can continue to hum or chant along. Let it move through you. And the words are: light in the dark, dark in the light. Lead us, O Lord, by a different sight.
Dark in the light, lead us, O Lord, by a different side. Light in the dark, dark in the light, lead us, O Lord, by a different side. Light in the dark, dark in the light. Lead us, O Lord, by a different side. Light in the dark, dark in the light. Lead us, O Lord, by a different side. Light in the dark, dark in the light. Lead us, O Lord, by a different side.
So, last week's message took us on a bit of a wild ride. We talked about Peter Thiel and the Antichrist. We spoke about societal unraveling. We challenged the myth of limitless progress as we acknowledged that technological innovation as we've known it has slowed down considerably over the past 4 decades or so. But it wasn't until What Are You Thinking that we mentioned the one glaring exception to that trend in our world right now: artificial intelligence. Now, over the past couple of years, I've had a front row seat to the evolution of artificial intelligence, not because I'm a tech expert or a futurist, far from it. It's because of the woman with whom I share my life. Maria, as many of you know, is a trainer of legal professionals in the world of generative AI. She works with lawyers, data scientists, and engineers, helping guide how large language models are trained and applied in the legal field. And I know just enough to sort of explain what Maria does, but there is no way in heaven, hell, or her Google Calendar that I can keep up with it. It's brilliant, It's more than a little intimidating, it's a lot. And it's evolving fast. But it's not just the speed of it, it's the surprise of it. AI has lived in our cultural imagination for decades. We've seen the movies, read the think pieces, asked the questions, what is AI and what will it become? And lately, the answers to those questions seem to change by the day. I don't think most of us imagined how quickly, how intimately, and how weirdly artificial intelligence would arrive right in the midst of our daily lives. One day it was distant, brave new world science fiction, and the next day we have strange new companions in our living rooms. Siri, Claude, Gemini. ChatGPT, or as I call it, Chatty, helps us do research, organize our calendars, and tell us how long to grill a pork chop. And those are the kinds of things I talk to Chatty about anyway. But the more I use it, and the more I hear Maria talk about how these systems are trained, the more convinced I am that asking what AI is and what it will become are the wrong questions entirely. Because despite how it seems, AI isn't some rogue invention with its own mind and moral compass deciding whether to save or destroy us. AI is a mirror. It's a mirror of how we think, what we value, what we fear, and maybe most importantly, what we dare to imagine. This week, we wrap up our Born for Wisdom series with the third and final ethic, the one that imagines what is possible. In other words, the ethic of evolution. And if we're going to talk about what's possible in the early 21st century and beyond, we've got to pay attention to the tools we're shaping and the way they are shaping us. We need to pay attention to the deeper truths they reflect. Our capacity for creativity, our level of consciousness or awareness, and the state of our collective soul. And if all that's true, if technology reflects our consciousness, then maybe the real question isn't what AI will become, but rather, what kind of consciousness is shaping it? It's a question asked by one of the deepest thinkers I've come across on this topic, Dr. Ilia Delio, a scientist, professor, and Franciscan sister whose voice feels to me like it comes from a future she's already inhabiting. A piece of hers landed in my inbox a few weeks ago about AI, evolution, and the nature of consciousness, and it felt absolutely spot on to both Maria and me. And in it, Delio questions whether AI is the kind of threat many folks warn it might be, or if it is even as separate from us as we think it is. What if, she muses, AI is not a replacement for us, but a revealer of us? And if that's true, I find myself wondering, are we ready for what it might reveal about us? We might not be ready. Because I think if we take a really good, hard look at where artificial intelligence stands right now, we might see that AI is not the threat. Our own lack of collective consciousness is. And if unconsciousness, or as G.I. Gurdjieff might put it, our sleepwalking through life, is the real threat, then we've got to ask in all seriousness, what kind of humans are we becoming, and what forces are shaping that becoming? These aren't just philosophical musings. They are urgent questions for anyone alive in this moment. Because we have far more agency than we realize, far more than we ever even tap into. And if we don't shape the future from a grounded, integrated place, from wholeness, from the wisdom in our bodies and bones. We'll just keep building tomorrow with yesterday's scaffolding. Hierarchy over harmony. Disconnection over kinship. Sleepwalking over awareness. Because whether it's the evolution of AI, ourselves, or anything else, we will inherit the future by default, instead of co-creating it with wisdom. That's why we've been doing this work together. We've been listening to the deep center of primal wisdom, that ancient embodied knowing we are born with. It's what tells us you belong. You are part of everything. You are safe in this world. And we've been exploring what developmental psychologist Darshan Narvaez calls the evolved nest, a term that describes the nurturing conditions required for that primal wisdom to unfold. These conditions are comprised of 3 essential ethics, 2 of which we've already discussed. There's the safety ethic, which allows us to settle and regulate so we can remember the divine ground beneath our fears. The engagement ethic invites us to connect and attune. It's where we say yes to life by authentically showing up for each other. And finally, today, it's the imagination ethic. Not fantasy, not escape, but the deep generative power to be active agents of evolution, to envision and midwife what has never been before. Narvaez writes that this third ethic integrates body, heart, and mind in the service of creativity, moral discernment, and the common good. The imagination ethic is sacred fire. It's what's ignited when love flows fully through us, released into an ever-evolving universe, to serve life, to serve love, to serve the common good. It arises when we're no longer stuck in defense, when community holds us, when our inner life can stretch, dream, and co-create. And it's fed by moments of wonder that we can sink into when the safety and engagement ethics hold us. The hush of the ocean at dawn, the cry of a newborn, the music that moves us, the presence that settles when we lean into silence together. Imagination partners with love, with longing, with evolution itself. It draws from the well of primal wisdom, dares to believe a more whole world is possible, and begins to build it. And always, always, what lies on the other side will be a brand new discovery, something we couldn't have fully pictured even if we tried. And I believe, deep down, that this is as true for God as it is for each one of us. And that's why we are here on this earth. To live our lives from this imagination ethic for a God who needs us to do this in order for the continuous, mysterious unfolding and evolution of the divine itself to happen. And I owe this conviction in part to a mystic scientist who saw this, lived this, and dreamed of a future we're only just beginning to glimpse. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Now, if you've never heard of him, you're not alone. Teilhard was a French Jesuit and paleontologist who lived through 2 world wars, was exiled by his own church, and still managed to imagine a world not falling apart, but falling forward, moving forward. If Darshan Narvaez gives us the scaffolding for the imagination ethic, the conditions that make imagination possible, Teilhard shows us what it looks like when that ethic catches fire. Teilhard spoke of a divine energy at the heart of creation, not distant or static, but alive and unfolding, pulsing through every moment. He envisioned a cosmos always evolving, drawn forward by love itself, a sacred becoming that includes us, moves through us, needs us. A radiant longing calling us toward greater complexity, deeper consciousness, and ever more expansive love. In fact, Teilhard didn't just imagine a better world in the future, he felt it. He felt its shape, its pull. He wrote of the energies of love, an arising collective consciousness born through communion, complexity, and compassion. For Teilhard, evolution wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. He made a very bold claim for his time, and honestly for ours too. That the universe isn't finished. That humanity isn't finished. That even God isn't finished. And in so doing, Teilhard dared to challenge the church's inherited theology. The world is round, not flat, he wrote. So too is our understanding of God. How can we keep worshiping a God who does not grow as we grow, expand as we expand, burn with us and through us and for us? How can we indeed? That question, that ache, is what brought so many of us to Common Thread in the first place. But it's not just personal disillusionment. It's not just the deconstruction of our faith, not just a checklist of outdated theological doctrines that we can no longer rationally get on board with. The heart of the matter, the thing under all those things, is that the institutional church is still worshiping a God who doesn't move, a God who doesn't grow, a God who sits outside of time, aloof and unchanging. And because of that, the church cannot imagine anything new. And this problem is amplified in its approaches to things that are new, like the Vatican's recent statement on artificial intelligence. It continues to draw from a God image that does not evolve, and so the posture remains reactive. Instead of leading with curiosity, it braces for the worst. Not how can we cooperate and evolve with artificial intelligence, but how can we defend ourselves against it? Don't get me wrong, that's an ethically sincere concern. But it is ultimately a failure of theological imagination. Still wired to manage, not imagine. Formed more by doctrine than dynamism, grasping for certainty instead of risking curiosity, and clinging to preservation instead of stepping into transformation. And that image of God, it's part of our collective consciousness. A consciousness that shrinks our agency, dulls our imagination, and continues to stunt our collective capacity to meet the world with vision and courage. And if that's the image of God shaping our collective consciousness, we have to ask, what kind of world does that image invite us to imagine? What kind of future can it possibly help us build? I mean, if God is done, then what in the world, literally, are we doing here? Well, whether we're sleepwalking or waking up, for the first time in history, we can now see a real-time image of what we're doing here, what we are collectively becoming in the form of artificial intelligence. Sister Delio puts it plainly in her book, Re-Enchanting the Earth, Why AI needs religion. AI is not a replacement for humans, it is a reflection of the kind of humans we are becoming. So what kind of humans are we becoming? Are we clinging to the familiar, numbing what feels unbearable, terrified by what we cannot control? Because if our consciousness is anxious, reactive, and ego-driven, AI will magnify that. If we operate from fear, scarcity, or separateness, we will automate those shadows at scale. In fact, never before in history have we been so swiftly confronted by the fruits of our own consciousness, projected outward, scaled globally, and fed back to us in the blink of an algorithm. It can feel pretty frightening. But if we meet AI only with policy and control, we forfeit the deeper invitation to evolve in concert with a new technology, and even more so, to co-create with God. By allowing this emerging intelligence to reflect where our consciousness must grow, where love must lead, where imagination must stretch. Because in that light, technology isn't a threat to manage. It's part of the evolutionary process through which love complexifies, consciousness awakens, and divinity becomes more fully manifest. And that is precisely where the imagination ethic becomes essential. Because we cannot meet these new arisings with old frameworks. We need more than policy and theology. We need courageous imagination. Not the fantasy kind, but the grounded, communal, spirit-led kind. To hold that mirror up to ourselves and ask, what is this showing us, and what new becoming is it calling forth? In her book, The Unbearable Wholeness of Being, Delio echoes Teilhard's radical claim that God is not a static being outside of time, but the dynamic presence within it, always becoming. And if that stretches the imagination, to think that God is still becoming, how much more staggering to realize that God's becoming unfolds through ours. And if we take that seriously, perhaps the new becoming that is being called forth from us is one rooted in an imagination ethic that was ours from the beginning. Because the antidote to the worship of a static God is a way of being that manifests the living God. A courageous way of being that draws from the deep well of love, awe, and possibility. A way of being that says, we're not here to behave for a deity in the sky. We are here to participate in divinity's unfolding, not spectators of God's becoming, but the artisans of it. That kind of courage is the imagination ethic in action, because imagination, when lived deeply, isn't just a mindset, it's a movement. It's a way of seeing differently, choosing differently, building differently. It turns awe into action, belonging into boldness. It dares to dream beyond what is, and it begins shaping what could be. And it's how a community becomes not just a reflection of the world, but a spark of a world being made new. And we are already imagining what it means to live from this ethic. Not by replicating an old evolved nest, but by reimagining one for our place in time. Primal wisdom lives in our bones, and the evolved nest offers a powerful blueprint. But the imagination ethic calls us beyond what's been, asking us to trust what we can't yet see. To stay open to the unfolding. Because we are living in a different world now, and AI is only one example. Scott reminded us of that last week during What Are You Thinking, for instance. naming the dissonance of holding wealth in a hurting world, a tension that didn't exist in ancestral villages in the same way, but that we must reckon with now if our imagining is to be real and generative. Lindsay offered a caution, too, that even belonging can slide into tribalism, reminding us that the past was never as idyllic as we sometimes wish it to be, and that the nest we build must stretch wide. It must hold more difference. It must risk more vulnerability and resist the pull toward insularity and identification. And these tensions are not obstacles. They are the very field where something new is trying to be born. We draw from what is deepest in us, honor where we've come from, and dare to imagine what new unfolding might be asked of us now. And whatever new unfolding is being asked of us now, may we answer with the energies of love. Love that opens what was closed and stretches what was rigid. Love that roots us in courage and connection. Love that bears the tension without breaking, that dares to dance in the space between what has been and what will be. A love pulsing with imagination that midwifes the very life of the divine into a future we cannot predict, one full of possibility, manifesting in us, through us, as us, again and again and again. And so, indwelling divine. As the stakes of our collective becoming rise before us, may we live from the imagination ethic Narvea's names as our reason for being. May we live into the sacred unfolding Delio reminds us is still underway, reflected even in our technologies, evolving, revealing, and reshaping us. And while we cannot know precisely what will unfold on the other side of our imagination, may we hold fast to the gorgeous vision of our collective becoming that Teilhard once glimpsed with the eye of his heart as he penned these words. Someday, after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love, and then for a second time in the history of the world, humanity will have discovered fire. Amen.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now. this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Amen. The month of August, we are going on a wisdom journey and beyond. Today is the last day of August, and you still have a chance to get on the Substack if you want to join our community there, where we have been doing contemplation together, and we have been reflecting on messages and just growing together in love. It's been a wonderful experience. And so if you want to join, get there. It's a way that we're looking to stay connected between Sundays as a community, a remote community, and an in-person community. And if you're going to come to the potluck today, we're going to talk a little more about what this might look like going forward, because I really want to get your input to see what this might become for us as a community. Like I said, it's one of the ways, in fact, that we can connect in a deeper way with our folks who are on the live stream, our remote folks. And good morning. Glad you joined us this morning, friends, on the live stream, assuming that you're watching on a Sunday morning. And if you are, we're going to invite you to do something we're about to do here in the room. We do it every Sunday called What Are You Thinking, Sensing, and Feeling, where we share what our thoughts are from the lesson or the service or just what's going on in the world and in our lives. And we have a robust remote community that does the same thing. And if you would like to join with them, go to the comments underneath the video and click on the link that says, What Are You Thinking? It will take you to a Zoom link. The code to get in is 1417. You can join the conversation if you've never done it before and you feel a little intimidated. I just promise you these are some of the most lovely, gentle people you'll ever meet, and they would just love to have you be part of that conversation. If you're watching at a time that's not Sunday morning, there is another link in another comment below that one where you can request a remote-specific newcomer email, which is going to be just as low-key and low pressure as the one we send to everybody else if you want to know more about us and see how you might get involved in a remote way. And with that, friends in the room, could we dismiss our friends on the live stream, please, by putting one hand on our heart and remembering that the divine is in us, and the divine is full of infinite possibility and imagination, which means we are too. And so as we move forward into this week, let us commit to draw from this well of imagination and possibility and deep, deep love, and bring that to everyone in our lives as we extend our other hand to our city and our world, taking very seriously this week to share what's in us with the people with whom we live, with whom we work, with whom we go to school, those we encounter on the street, as we lean into, as we do every week when we leave here, our charge to be healers and repairers of our world. Amen. Folks on the live stream, you are dismissed. God bless you. Folks in the room, I would like to invite you to just get grounded and see if you can get in touch with what you are sensing and feeling before we share what we are thinking.